You don't decide to feel it. That's the first thing nobody tells you. You don't wake up one morning and choose the gray. It just arrives, quietly. The way fog arrives, you don't see it come in. You just look up one day, and everything familiar looks further away than it used to. Maybe it started with something specific. A loss. A door that closed. A version of your life you had to stop believing in. Or maybe it started with nothing you can name. And that's worse somehow. Because at least if there was a reason, you could point at the reason. You could say, that's the thing, that's what did it. But sometimes there is no thing. There is just the weight, and the weight has no address. Depression is not sadness. This matters. Sadness is a response. Something happens and the feeling follows. Sadness makes sense. Depression doesn't ask permission and it doesn't wait for a reason. It moves in and rearranges the furniture while you're sleeping. You wake up and something is different, but you can't tell what moved. Here is what is actually happening inside you when it comes. Your brain runs on chemical messengers: serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine. Think of them as tiny signals that travel between the gaps in your neurons. Billions of messages every second, keeping you connected to the world, to yourself, to the feeling that tomorrow is worth getting to. When the system works, you don't notice it. It just runs quietly in the background, the way electricity runs through walls. You never think about it, but when it breaks down, and it breaks down in ways that have nothing to do with how strong you are or how much you have to be grateful for, the signals stop landing correctly. The message that says you matter gets lost in transit. The signal that says this moment is worth being in never arrives. And your brain, in the absence of those signals, starts running on backup systems. Low power mode, the version of yourself that only keeps the essential things running and lets everything else go dark. That is depression, not weakness, not ingratitude, a communication failure in the most complicated system ever built. And that system happens to be you. But here is what makes it harder. Depression lies. It is very good at this. It has had a long time to practice. It takes the low signal state of your brain and fills the silence with its own voice. And its voice sounds exactly like your voice. That's the part that makes it so hard to fight. It doesn't announce itself as depression. It announces itself as truth. You're a burden. That's not depression talking. That's just how things are. Nobody would notice. That's not the illness. That's just reality. You've always been like this. That's not a symptom. That's just who you are. It makes the lie feel like the clearest thing you've thought all week. And you're exhausted. And when you're exhausted, the lie sounds like rest. So you get quieter. Not because you want to, because quiet takes less energy than explaining. You cancel the thing. Not because you don't care, because getting there requires a version of yourself you can't find today. You stay in the hoodie, you don't answer. You sit with the curtains mostly closed, not because the light is bad, but because the light requires something from you, and today you have nothing left to give. And here's the part that makes it lonelier. You look fine. From the outside, you look like someone who is just tired, or going through something, or a little distant lately. The people around you can't see the gap between the person you're presenting and the person actually inside it. The performance costs everything and leaves nothing. But you keep performing because the alternative is trying to explain something that doesn't have good language yet. How do you tell someone that you're not sad, exactly? You're just not here exactly. That you're going through the motions of a life that used to feel like yours. That the things that used to reach you, music, food, the voice of someone you love, are reaching you through glass now. Muffled, distant, present but not felt. You don't. You say you're fine. You say you're just tired. You say you've been busy. And you go home and sit with the curtains mostly closed and wonder if there is something fundamentally wrong with you that other people don't have. There isn't. Roughly 1 in 5 people will experience a depressive episode in their lifetime. The numbers are not small. The silence around it is. Every person you pass in a day who looks fine, some of them are doing the exact same performance you are. Holding the same weight, speaking through the same glass. You are not an exception to the human experience. You are inside of it. The brain that is struggling right now is the same brain that learned every language you know, held every memory you have, loved every person you've loved. It is not broken beyond repair. It is overwhelmed. There is a difference. Broken things don't come back. Overwhelmed things do. With time, with support, with the right help, with the radical and difficult act of letting someone in past the performance. That is not easy. None of this is easy. The hardest step is the first one, and the first one is usually just admitting to yourself, alone, quietly, with no one watching, that the weight is real, that you are not imagining it, that you are not being dramatic or weak or ungrateful, that something is happening and it has a name and it is not your fault. So if you are sitting somewhere right now with the curtains a little closed and a weight you haven't told anyone about, this video was for you. You were never broken. You were always just trying to survive something nobody warned you about. Drop a comment below. You don't have to explain anything. You don't have to perform anything. Just, if this reached you, let me know. I read everyone. Subscribe because the next video goes deeper, and I'll see you there.